topic which we have discussed, that is international environmental law and UN conferences. So to start with, we know that June 5th is celebrated as the International Environmental Day. The reason why we are celebrating that particular day for the environment is that to remembrance of the Stockholm Conference, that is June 5, 1972, was this day where Stockholm Conference was declared. So that is why it is celebrated as World Environmental Day, and the theme, 2020 theme was Time for Nature. And in this year, the theme was reimagine, recreate, and restorate, also called ecosystem restoration. And so this year in 2021, it was Pakistan who was the global host for this particular program. And 2021 to 2030 is considered as a UN decade on ecosystem restoration. So along with June 5th as World Environmental Day, it is very important that we should know the importance of May 22. May 22 is International Day for Biological Diversity. So then the theme, the 2021 theme for this International Day for Biological Diversity is that we are part of the solution, that we are not the problem creators, but we are the part of solution. So coming to the aspect of international environmental law, we know that laws are municipal and it is international. So this International Environmental Law, or IEL, is a branch of public international law where it is an attempt, it is a concerns about controlling pollution and depletion of natural resources, and it also discusses mainly about sustainable development. Then the modern environmentalism, we can find the concept of modern environmentalism from the year 1970 only. And to find the trajectory of this environmental law, international environmental law, we can see that this environmental law has developed through treaties, conventions, and protocol. That is what we are going to discuss now. So before going to that, there are certain important disasters that which have created a serious environmental problem. That first one is Chernobyl disaster. Chernobyl nuclear power plant disaster, 1986. We know that it was a gas explosion resulting in a kind of radiation explosion. Then the second one is Sandoz chemical spill, 1986. Then other one was oils Kuwait oil well was it was seriously damaged. Then in 1993, a Norwegian tanker was spilled where sulfuric acid was poured into the sea. And the last one was in the 2006, it's the glaciers of Greenland were melting twice as quickly as they were 5 years later. These are just five important ones that I have mentioned, but there are lots of. Even today, there will be a number of disasters that takes place. So, moving to the ancient attempts used for protecting our environment is the first one we could identify is in 1933 London Convention, where they for the protection of flora and fauna they convened a meeting. Then in 1940 Washington Convention, the 1946 International Convention on Regulation of Whaling, it was with regard to the animal whales. Then IUCN Convention, the 1963 Kenya, it was held in Kenya. So to start from 1900 to 1972, we can see that first convention has taken place in 1916. That is Convention for the Protection of Migratory Birds in the United States and Canada. It was relating to the protection of migratory birds. Then second one was 1940 Washington Convention on Nature Protection and Wildlife Preservation in Western Hemisphere. Then third one is regarding prevention of pollution of the sea by oil in 1954. Then African Convention on the Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources 1968, and the Ramsar Convention 1971.
Sorry for interference. Slide കൂടി ഒന്ന് change ആക്കിയെങ്കിൽ first slide തന്നെ നിൽക്കുക.
Oh, but I'm sorry, it's changing here. I'll try to present once more.
Okay.
How is it now?
Um, okay, okay.
Okay, so we were discussing from 1972 to 1992. So in that particular era, the first one we could say is 1972 Stockholm Conference, which is one of the important conferences which was held for the protection of our environment. That is, it was United Nations Conference on Human Environment, and we know that this is the first international intergovernmental conferences for the protection of our environment. And the concept of sustainable development was also discussed in this particular convention. Then coming to the Vienna Convention of 1985, we know that Vienna Convention is known for the protection of ozone layer, and it was introduced in March 22, 1985. Apart from ozone layer protection, they also addressed global pollution problems. And when discussing about ozone layer, 16th September is known as World Ozone Day, and this year's theme is Ozone for Life, 36 years of ozone layer protection. Then coming to the next one is Law of the Sea Convention 1982. So the Law of the Sea Convention is also called as United Nations Convention on the Law of Seas, that is UNCLOS. And it was in this particular convention that the marine areas were divided into 5 zones, that is internal waters, territorial sea, contiguous zone, exclusive economic zone, and the high seas. And this UNCLOS is the only international convention which is stipulating a framework regarding the jurisdiction of maritime spaces. And this particular convention took place in Jamaica. Coming to the next one, Montreal Protocol of 1987, we know that Montreal Protocol is regarding the ozone depleting substances, that is ODS, like the production, consumption and emission of ozone depleting substances is what dealt under Montreal Protocol. And it was signed in 1987. Even though it was signed in 1987, it came into force only in 1989. And I have listed certain ODS substances there, that is like chlorofluorocarbon, hydrochlorofluorocarbon, carbon tetrachloride, methyl chloroform, hydrofluorocarbon, halons, etc. So, and this Montreal Protocol is special in the sense that it is the first treaty to be ratified by every country in the world. And it was only in the year 1992 that India became a signatory to this particular protocol. And to deal about the amendments which has taken place in this Montreal Protocol, there are 5 amendments, and the latest one is 2019 Kigali Amendment. And in this Kigali Amendment, through that Kigali Amendment, Montreal Protocol has emerged as a powerful tool to fight global warming. And in order to be a party to Montreal Protocol, it is necessary that that particular country should have ratified the Vienna Convention. And the next one is Basel Convention of 1989. So Basel Convention is with regard to the transboundary movement of hazardous waste, to reduce the movement of hazardous waste between nations. That was the reason why this particular convention was brought forth. So it was it was in the year 1989, 22nd March, it was opened for signature, and it came into force on 1992 May 5th. We have 187 parties there, and but one of the main criticism that we can identify in Basel Convention is that it does not address the movement of radioactive waste. And so the main concept of Basel Convention, or the main reason why this particular convention is introduced, is to ban on transboundary movement of hazardous waste from developed countries to less developed countries. Then the next one is Rio Conference of 1992. It was held in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and under UNCED, United Nations Conference on Environment and Development. So the result of Rio Conference is that 5 important other conventions was made in that. That is Convention on Biological Diversity, UNFCCC, then United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification, Rio Declaration on Environment and Development, Agenda 21, and certain forest principles. So out of that, UNFCCC, that is United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, um, through this UNFCCC only this Kyoto Protocol was lately implemented. Then how to prevent the dangerous anthropogenic inferences to the climate system. Certain concepts was introduced through this UNFCCC. Then to talk about Agenda 21, it is a non-binding concept, but it is a action plan of the United States with regard to sustainable development. How to like particular nation, how to implement those points which were discussed in Rio conferences. Then the next one is like Kyoto Protocol of 1997. We know, like I have told earlier, Kyoto Protocol is a protocol to the UNFCCC, that is United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. So the main reason why this particular protocol is implemented is to fight global warming and to achieve the stabilization of greenhouse gas concentration in the air. And this protocol was initially adopted in 1997 and entered into force only on 2005. And we could see that many of the states or many of the nations are taking measures to reduce greenhouse effect with reference to this Kyoto Protocol. The next one is 2000 Millennium Declaration. It was in this declaration the concept of sustainable development was once again brought forth before the nations. And this particular declaration was adopted by 189 countries. And through this United Nations Millennium Summit of 2000, like 8 measurable development goals was brought forth. That is the Millennium Development Goals. That 8 goals, like to eradicate hunger and poverty, to reduce child mortality, improve maternal health, achieve universal primary education, like that 8 development goals was introduced through this 2000 Millennium Declaration. Along with this 8 Millennium Development Goals, there were 18 targets, then 48 indicators to measure the results, and the target year was 2015. And when we check the data of 2015, they were saying that many of the nations are like they are developing in the sense of 2000, the goals which they have set in 2000 Millennium Declaration. Then coming to the next one, that is United Nations Conference on Sustainable Development. We could also call it as Rio 2012 or Rio 20 or Earth Summit 2012, because it is the third international conference which is dealing about the sustainable development. And this conference was initiated based on the remembrance of the Rio Declaration that we have, Rio Conference of 1992. So through this 2012 Rio conference, the states has renewed their commitment for a sustainable future, and now they have 192 member states in that. And some of the latest latest agreements are in 2016 we had a Paris Agreement. In that Paris Agreement, it was a legally binding international treaty on climate change, and their main goal was to limit the global warming below 2 degrees Celsius, or like preferably to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Then we have UNEA, that is UN Environmental Assembly. It is the governing body of UN Environmental Program, and we could say it as the world's highest level decision making body on the environment. Then we have CSD, that is UN Commission on Sustainable Development. It is also established by the UN General Assembly in the year 1992 for the follow-up of Earth Summit. Then coming to the Brundtland Commission of 1983. Brundtland Commission is always famous for the definition that is provided to us, the definition of sustainable development that is provided to us. That is, the sustainable development is the development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. That is, the development should be there. It should be present for the future generations also. And like the Brundtland Commission is like World Commission on Environment and Development 1983. Then coming to the Next one is European Court of Justice. Like here, uh, those nations which are under European Union, they resolve the disputes. Their environmental issues may be resolved through this particular European Court of Justice. And there are more than 150 cases, which is like this European Court of Justice (ECJ) is established in 1952 and is based in Luxembourg. And coming to the next one is International Tribunal for the Law of Sea. ITLAS. ITLAS is an intergovernmental organization created by the mandate of Third United Nations Conference on Law of Sea. So it was established by United Nations Convention on Law of Sea, signed at Jamaica in 1982 and entered into force early on 1994. So this particular ITLAS is a framework to cover ocean space, its uses and resources. Like all total, we have 29 cases before International Tribunal for Law of Sea. Representing India, the case we have is Enrica Lexi case, between India and Italy. And some of the like extra things which I have added here is regarding TERI, that is the Energy and Resource Institute. They have uh, they have developed a summit, that is World Sustainable Development Summit was held, and that summit was known as Delhi Sustainable Development Summit. And the the theme for that particular summit was redefining our common future, safe and secure environmental for all. And the STERI is a non-profit research institute established in 1974, and they conducts research work in the field of energy, environment, sustainable development, and other global south issues. So that is the review segment. Okay, thank you.